Mrs. Yessica?
Thank you, Miss Amber. That's very interesting. All those animals with the different lifespans. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, today we're talking about how does God measure time? And as we've been learning from Miss Jenny and Miss Amber,
Good.
so we've been learning about the different timelines. And we we have you ever wondered, how does God measure time? Well, let's talk more about that. So we've been learning that God is forever, and we're going to try out a little experiment. So let's see how good you are at measuring time. I'm going to set the timer, and Miss Jenny, let me know when you think 1 minute is over. Okay,
Okay.
go.
Okay. No?
Mm-mm.
Now?
No,
The least fun game ever.
just
Now?
for 1 minute. Nope,
Now?
nope. This is a pretty long minute.
The longest minute ever. Now?
Nope, almost there.
Now?
Nope, now.
This is the longest minute ever.
Yes, yes. How difficult was it to keep track of time in your head, Miss Jenny?
Apparently very hard. I felt like a kid in the backseat of the car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
This is true. And for humans, we have a clear way of measuring time. We all agree on how long a second is, and that there are 60 seconds in a minute, and 60 minutes in an hour, and 24 hours in a day, and so on and so forth. But how does God measure time? Well, first of all, time is something God made when He made the earth. Let's read a couple passages. Genesis chapter 1, verse 5 says, God called the light day and the darkness night, and the evening passed and morning came, marking the first day. Verse 8 says, God called the space sky, and evening passed and morning came, marking the second day. Verse 13 says, and evening passed and morning came, marking the third day. Verse 19 says, and evening passed and morning came, marking the fourth day. 23 and 20 and 31 both say, 23 says, and evening passed and morning came, marking the fifth day. The last one, verse 31 says, then God looked over all he had made, and he saw that it was very good. And evening passed and morning came, marking the sixth day. So, what did all the days of creation have in common?
That the evening passed and the morning came, which marked the day.
That's right. And from the very first day of creation, God set up the idea of time. So the idea of time came from God. And there was evening and morning. And God created rhythms of time and days that would make sense to us. We didn't come up with the idea of seconds and minutes. And that's all based on how long it takes the earth to rotate, a process that was also created by God. But that may mean that before the earth existed, or outside of human understanding, time doesn't exist. And that's pretty difficult to understand because we've been so used to time our whole entire lives. But God, but to God, time outside of the earth isn't the same. Second Peter chapter 3 verse 8 says, "But you must not forget this one thing, dear friends. A day is like 1,000 years to the Lord, and 1,000 years is like a day." When I first read this Bible verse, like my mind was blown because that's a whole entire minute is pretty long to wait for it to like for a whole minute. Just imagine 1,000 years to pass by for it to be one day to God. So, what does this Bible verse show us about what time looked like to God? Well, if it's still a little confusing, I drew my own timeline. It's a little different. Hopefully you guys can see it. See, it has here the creation. Over here it has the ending, and over here is eternity. Now, this is a timeline like one you've probably seen before. And we measure time in a line. So from beginning to end in a line. Okay. And it's clear if something happened before or after something else based on where on the timeline we are, right? And this timeline begins with the creation of the earth and ends with the end of the earth. Okay. And thinking of time as a line, it can make it hard to think of forever. And lines have beginnings and ends. So let's think of time a little differently. Okay. Maybe time outside the Earth's existence that doesn't have a before or after, kind of like this little infinity symbol. It's like the time the Earth existed, and it just keeps floating in the middle of forever, over and over. There is no distinct before or after. However, we try to understand it. We know that God measures time differently than we do. And that's because God has no beginning and he has no end, because God is forever. Well, if you ever want to understand what eternity is, just think of a circle or the infinity symbol. Just keeps going and going and going and going. Well, that's it for our Deeper Bible, kids. See you next this Sunday. Bye.